Hello and welcome back to pattern making with Let Morris. We're continuing the pattern for the top that we're doing, and we're just going to be doing the sleeve at the moment. This is the top. It looks like this, and we're just going to be doing the sleeve and the cuff to complete the pattern. So wherever you are, whether it's morning, evening, or midday, lunchtime, I hope you will be able to come along with us to finish this pattern for this top. So thanks for watching again. And here we go. We're going to begin this lesson and we're going to be doing the sleeve. Once again, we've got the block of the sleeve, and that's where we start. Everything that we do in these classes that we're doing from the block. It's all right, yes, you can do it freehand, but that's not an accurate accurate way of doing it. So once you have your block to your measurements, you know you've got your measurements to your blocks correctly, you can't go wrong. So here we go. This is the sleeve block, and we need the paper, whether spot and cross plain paper, brown paper, greaseproof paper, whatever paper you use. You need your scissors, your pencils, and you know the tools. We go through it every time. So let's go along now and start to do this. So number one, I'm going to mark around the block, transfer all my grain lines, my balance marks and everything. And I've done that already, and I've got one prepare underneath. So you can put your block away. And this is the new piece that we've cut out, and we've got our balance mark for the back and the front. We've got the center of the sleeve, and we've got the grain line going on there. Let's just brighten that up a bit more so that we can see that. That's the grain line down the center going up there. And I've now created two lines, extra lines on my sleeve. So what I've done is I've created a line between the center and the side, a line between the center on the side, on that side as well, and I've drawn a straight line down. Now, why have I done that? Because I'm going to be slashing and spreading to get my cuff at the bottom of my sleeve. I want to have some gathers in there, so I'm going to open it out. So I have to decide on the circumference of my cuff. So in this case, I'm going to do a cuff circumference of 7 inches. So I'm going to open this out evenly on both sides. 7 inches, so that will be 3.5, I think, on one side and 3 on the other. So that will allow me for the amount of gauging I want in my actual sleeve. You can put more if you want, but it just depends on what fabric you're using. The softer the fabric, the more gathers opening you can open your sleeve. But in this case, I'm going to just open mine once more, 7, so I'm going to make it 14 inches. I'm going to open out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut up on that line like this. We cut up on those lines, either side of the grain line, like that. Don't cut it right out off the top. Leave a little bit dangling at the top, the head of the sleeve. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a line on my paper, a straight line, because I'm going to use that always as my grain line. So I've got a straight line on there. Take it down a bit more, and I'm going to place my grain line here on top of that line like that, because I want my pattern to be straight. You can stick that down with I always have my prick stick here, or you can use sellotape. So I'm just going to secure that there at the top and at the bottom here. So I'm going to stick a little bit on there, and then make sure the grain is on the grain line and just have that there. So once I've done that, I'm going to open out like that, because I've got another sheet of paper underneath, and I'm going to open out. So I want to put in there along the bottom, I want it to be 7 inches bigger than the cuff that I want to achieve, because my cuff is going to finish at 14. So I'm going to open it evenly in there. So I want 7, so I'm going to put 3.5 and 3.5 here. So that's evenly spaced out. So from that point there, I'm going to measure out my 3.5. So that's 1, 2, 3.5. So you open out, and then you just put a little dot or a little mark, and then you can secure that on your paper like that with a bit of sellotape once again, or a bit of your prick stick. I'm going to use my prick stick to stick that. So once you've got that, you just put your prick stick out once you've opened out. So that is laying flat on there like that to that mark, and you do the same on the other side. So whatever the measurement is there, you move it out that side like that, and you put a mark, and then you bring that back to there. As I said, you must remember you can always open this out more, but it just depends on the fabric you're using and how much fullness you want. So but you can see I'm going to make this evenly all the way along. So you've got even space in there and even space in there for your gathers. So once I've done that, all I do now is mark around my sleeve and put my information on. So I'm going to come along there, come along here, and come along here. I haven't marked those bits because I want a nice curve around there. So I'll use my curve. So I go straight down from under the arm out, and I go straight out there like that, and I'm going to go around the head of the sleeve, and I mark that round, and I'm going to put my notches in for the balance mark. That's my back, and I know that's my center, and that's a little mark, and this is my front section. So now that I've got that on, so all of this is going to be gauged into 7 inches. So once I've got that, I can now take this off my paper, and I've got it on my new sheet underneath. So all the markings, and as we take those off, you will see what we've got. And there, all I do is you do it with your curve. Just curve up those lines so you get a nice curve running in there, and you do it on also that side with your curve. So that's the shape. As I said, you can open this out more. The more you open out, the more gathers you get in here. So now this is now my grain line here, continually keeping that straight. All I'm going to do now is add my seam allowance around this, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a slit up the back of my sleeve area. So how do I do that? I measure whatever this measurement is from that point to the center, and the half mark, whatever that is, I'm going to just put a mark along there, because I want the slit to be towards the back of the sleeve. So I'm just going to make a line on there about 5 inches long, or less than that, 4.5, something like that, 5, you know, you can, and I'm just going to measure that, and I'm going to put a mark along there. That's my slit at the back. So all along here is going to be gauged in, and along here is going to be gauged in. So once I've established that, I now mark on the seam allowance on my pattern piece around the armhole well, you say the armhole, the sleeve head rather, because this is going to be fit into the armhole. It's got no gathers on the head of the sleeve. This is fitting back into the sleeve flat. We have a flat head sleeve, but at the cuff we're going to be gathering into there. And on the bottom, all we do is just add a centimetre seam allowance on the bottom, and that is your sleeve. And we're going to write on here sleeve, and we're going to cut 2 of those. So that is your sleeve. And then what we do is we just cut out that shape, and that is our sleeve. Sometimes what we can do is to shape the bottom of the sleeve if we have more fullness, but in this case we're not having a lot of fullness in this sleeve, because I'm thinking of the fabric for this design is something like a Georgette fabric. You can use, you know, something that's not very thick. So you just cut around your sleeve head like that, and but before you put your notches before you notch the notches, you've got to check that they correspond with your bodies that you've already done. So we just cut along the seam, on the seam line that we have allowed all the way down, and then we come across the bottom. We just follow the shape around like that, and then we make a slit towards the back where I've drawn, and we just slit up there like that. And then what we do is we just have a strip of bias piece, so it be whatever this is. If that's 5 inches up, you've got to make it 10, because it's got to come all the way around there and back down there again. So we're going to make a strip of about, what we say, 10, if that's 5, yeah, 10 inches. And then all we do is just square the line up from there. We just make it about an inch and a quarter, inch and a half the most, the strip. And then we just take the strip across there, because it's got to go along there and round there. But what we do with this strip, we cut it on the bias. So we make sure that is a bias cut, and we cut it on the bias like that. So that would be our grain line, and that would be our strip for binding the slit out, for binding that. So we're going to cut 2 of those, and that is the binding for the slit. So that is your binding piece for the split. And then we just cut out that shape as it is, cut that on the bias on the fabric. And you know, you might not know how to do this, but I'm sure there's videos that will show you how to attach the binding strip onto your sleeve. So you cut that out, that is folded in half, and you bind that out, or you do it single and you stitch that around there to a point to nothing, and then you turn it around and it goes back there. You fold it under towards the wrong side, or if you do it on the wrong side, right side to wrong side, it comes back up, and then you stitch it. That bags that out, in other words, and give it a nice finish. So that is your strip. And then you need, for the cuff now, we're going to do 7 inches finished cuff, but we need 1 inch. We need 1 inch for it to wrap over, so we can have a button. We can have a button on it. So with another sheet of paper, you fold it. You have a fold edge. I normally work with a fold edge. And we're going to square the line out, whatever. We square the line out here. So I go square out the line. Whatever the cuff is, we're going to do a 2-inch cuff. We measure up the 2 inches. Measure up your 2 inches, so that is your cuff. And the length of your cuff, we said it's going to be 7. and we measure out the 7 inches that we want, and that's your cuff finish. And then you square the line up. That's your cuff, and 2 inches up, and you square the line out. Your 2 inches, we square that out. You mark the line across, and then what we do is we add a centimeter on there where it attached to the sleeve, and we only need 1/4 of an inch on these sides here to bag that out, your sleeve edge, and 1/4 of an inch on that side to bag your sleeve edge out, your cuff edge rather. And that is your cuff, and we just cut that out. So that is your cuff. That's the width of the cuff there. It's folded, it's got a fold edge, and then you just open out when you're placing it on your fabric. That is your cuff, and you put your grain line on that crease line that you've made. You can go that way for your cuff grain line, or you can square it out this way for the cuff as well, depending on how you lay it on. So that is your cuff, and you're going to cut 2 of those plus fuse. So it's important that we cut the fuse because we're going to have some button and buttonholes on that. So the button and the buttonhole will come on your sleeve at that section here. We'll put 2 buttonholes, one there and one there when it's finished, so we have 2 little buttons on the cuff of your sleeve. But we've made the sleeve. You've got to remember when we do the sleeves, because we want it to lap over a bit, we add an extra 1 inch on the length of our sleeve. But that is the way the cuff is finished. So that is your sleeve already done now. You've got your binding bit to bind out the slit, and that's your cuff, where all of that is gauged onto your cuff. So that is the finished sleeve and cuff that we have, and the split that the piece that we have for to bind out the binding of the slit that we've made on the cuff. So that is your completion of your sleeve pattern to go with that top, this top that we have created. So please comment below anything that you want to see or you want us to go over, you're not understanding. Please send us a message and we will do our very best to try and help you through it. But these are some of the things that you can make. It's not very difficult. Once you've got your block, you can just, create your styles that you want. So thanks again for watching, and remember to like and subscribe and let us know how you're getting on. See you next time. Have a good day. Bye.